It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Front cover here is QBI, qualified business income. Guys, and we reached out to some of our tax preparers because even though I'm not doing taxes anymore, I still got connections in the CPA universe.
You're still down. I got it.
So I still speak their language. We reached out to them and we said, what's the biggest things you're noticing as you're getting into 2018 tax prep season? And I kid you not, I even wrote it down here. The quote was, oh gosh, where's the quote? It was.
He said what the one I know you're talking about said, the tax savings I've seen have been enough to knock you over.
That's
when
what
it
it
comes
was.
to QBI.
They're knocking you over. Here it is. The tax savings I've seen have been enough to knock you over. When you hear an accountant get excited, it says it knocks you over. There's two things that get accountants excited. When you go to conferences and there's free booze.
Obviously.
CPAs who are very price conscientious love free booze. And then the second thing is when you hear them say, these savings will knock you over. So for a lot of small business owners,
it's going to be big.
This 20%, because that's what QBI is, this 20% deduction off of your qualified business income. Now, I will tell you, there is a laundry list. I opened up this article. I took the sheet of paper out because I gave Morpheus a document out of here. This thing will put you to sleep. But there were so many caveats to the QBI that, guys, you're going to need to make sure you talk to somebody to work you through it because there are some carve-outs for qualified business income, including special service business. Bo, who does that impact?
It impacts us.
Well,
it impacts us.
I know selfishly we look at ourselves, but who else does it impact?
It impacts those in the following fields: healthcare, law, accounting, actuarial services, performing arts, consulting, athletics, financial services, brokerage service, or any other trade or business that relies on the reputation or skill of one or more of its employees.
That kind of stinks.
So it's pretty encompassing in terms of who this hits. And so,
you know who they didn't carve out? Real estate. Mm-hmm. We know how things are buttered up there in Washington. I get it, but they carved out all you professional athletes. You got stuck.
So there's a few things you need to think about when it comes
entertainers, you got stuck too. So, Brad Pitt, you got stuck. Mark Wahlberg, you got stuck too.
So there's a few things you need to
Dave Ramsey.
So there's a few things you need to think about when it comes to QBI. One of them is what field that you work in. Are you someone who works in one of these excluded fields? But the other is there is an income threshold. Below a certain income, it doesn't matter as much. In between
The Rock got stuck too.
One income and another, it does matter, and then over the income, it completely goes out the door. And so, if you are below the phase-out range, it's $321,000 to $421,000 for married. You don't have to worry about if you're in one of these qualified service industries because you will still qualify for the 20% pass-through. It's $160,000 to $210,000 for single individuals or head of household. If your income starts getting into those higher ranges, again, it starts at $321 for married, $160 for single, it gets a lot more complicated. If you're someone who's been doing your self-preparing and you've been doing your own return for a number of years, and you are a small business owner, or you have a side hustle, or there's some flow-through income that's coming your way, it might not be horrible in this first year to think about working with a professional just to make sure you don't get this wrong. Because getting this wrong can have some really big implications on how much tax you pay in 2018.
I wanted to say one more thing. Besides, Miley Cyrus is probably going to get stuck on this too. Dolly Parton, she's going to get stuck by this. I mean, anybody who is based upon their specialty skill set, pretty much our elected officials looked at us and go, we don't care if you employ a lot of people, you don't get this 20%. So I'll move on. There's a little bitterness that you can probably sense from it.
It's so funny. I didn't pick that up.
I do think, in all seriousness, when I talked to this tax preparer, the CPA that we're friends with, who's part of the Money Guy family, and he was telling us that these deductions are looking so good that it knocked him down, it did make me wonder, because I'm always, guys, you want to know what makes you a good investor, what makes you, besides doing it consistent and often and creating and locking it in so where you're saving automatically, it is reading the tea leaves to at least understand what market things might be occurring. And I wrote it down here, Bo, in the show notes, does this create a small business ripple effect for future growth? I mean, if every one of these small business owners that's not Miley Cyrus or The Rock or, all the other Coldplay or everybody else that's out there, Do they, when they get that little bit extra bump, when they get their taxes, because we know, look, when the tax rate went down to 21% on corporate America, the stock market was pretty excited about that. But does the same thing happen when Main Street realizes that there might be a little bit extra in their tax refund? Because you wouldn't know that until we now started working through the 2018 tax prep season. I got excited about that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see. I think a lot of folks know that there have been changes. I think a lot of folks know that those changes might hit them. If I'm somebody in a SALT state, if I'm somebody in a certain income range with kids, or from a small business owner, I don't think that most people have a full grasp on just how it's going to hit them.
But it is so complicated that it's the head story in my Journal of Accountancy is that I don't think, even though people think they're hopeful that they might get a deduction on their tax return for their business, they have no idea how big it will be.
That's right.
So
That's
it will
exactly
be
right.
interesting to see if it's a shock and awe moment that creates a ripple effect that's good, or if it fizzles out.